Hey, I've been meaning to ask you, what's that thing you've stuck on there? A female student, stuffing a piece of buldak kimbap in her mouth, questioned. Is it the food truck's motto, or yours, Oppa? Don't call the store owner Oppa. Have some respect. I apologize for my daughter, sir. Please, I call all handsome men Oppa, and maybe you just came here for the first time today, Mom. But I'm a regular. Oppa and I are very close. The mother, embarrassed by her daughter's shamelessness, smiled awkwardly as she met San's eyes. He was busy gathering bite-sized pieces of bulgogi kimbap into a bowl. San said, "It's something the owner of some snack stall told me 3 years or so ago when I was worried that my dreams might not come true. Dreams are fine and all, but there are many other more important things in life. Like sharing love, eating together, and cleaning up your own mess." As if pondering the meaning of what San just said, the female student read the memo aloud. For the first time in a long while, San also looked at the old memo posted on the inside wall of his food truck. It was the first thing he stuck to its inner walls after buying the used truck 3 years ago, when the members, one by one, had started moving on their own paths. He started this food truck wanting to know if, like the owner of that stall said, a life outside of one's dreams was worth living. So running a food truck like this wasn't your dream? The female student asked. If I'm being honest, no, it wasn't. Not really, San said. Does that make you sad that you're doing something other than your dream? The girl's mother tried to interject, but San just laughed, saying it was okay. No, I like it. Of course, there are still times I miss those moments. The girl spoke loudly as if to tell her mother to listen. See, so you can live happily without achieving your dreams. My mom always says you have to achieve your dreams, that a life without achieving your dreams is a life wasted, and so I have to study. Always study, study, study. Her nagging drives me crazy. Enough, stop eating and go to your after-school classes. Sorry for all the trouble, sir. The food was great. The mother, no longer able to hold back and wary of the ongoing conversation, finally stood up and urged her daughter away. San watched as the female student stuffed her cheeks full of the remaining kimbap, still chewing it as her mother dragged her away. He smiled. I used to think that too, San said. A new customer approached, and San greeted them with a friendly face. Seeing the expectant faces of hungry customers as they ordered, making food he hoped they'd enjoy, and watching them eat until they were full and happy. There's a kind of happiness in this too, San thought. Meanwhile, a plane bound for Incheon was getting ready to take off in Dubai. Woo Young, a second-year flight attendant, was busy preparing the special safety announcement he had put together for K Airlines. The airline, concerned that passengers weren't paying enough attention to the flight attendant's in-flight safety announcement, planned a new event based on an idea of Woo Young's in place of the usual simple demonstration. While he knew all he needed to do was match a few small movements to the announcement's song and rap, Woo Young's mouth had gone dry from nervousness. It had been a long time since he'd been on stage. He clenched his hands into a fist, stretched them slowly, and shook them out, but it did nothing to help calm his nerves. Taking a deep breath, Woo Young closed his eyes. He recalled those times 3 years ago from now, when the members, dressed in black fedoras, would perform as they used the chromer to disappear and reappear in and out of space. It was a time when his stage fright had felt like a distant memory from a past life. Yes, he had acted with a sense of duty, wanting to save the people from Z's control, but it was more than that. Those dreams of his that were out of grasp in World A were achievable in World Z. There, the world was his stage, and each and every performance was thrilling. The performances of Woo Young and the members reminded the people, whose emotions had been suppressed and controlled, of the feelings they had lost. Their reactions, full of laughter and tears, had ignited Woo Young's heart. Zed, backed into a corner, broke the chromer in his attempt to flee, and as a result, Woo Young and the members were thrown back into this world before they could see the climax of their movement. But it was fine. If he could do all that there was nothing he couldn't do here, too, Woo Young had thought. The members came together again and prepared as a performance group. Jongho, who was studying music composition, wrote their songs, and Hongjung and Minky came up with the lyrics. Woo Young and Yuno put together the choreography. Yeosang, who, thanks to his investments, had the most money to spare, set up their practice room, and Songhwa and San oversaw the planning and marketing. Through busking and performances at small, local events, they did their best to make even one fan. But that was the extent of it. And as days without progress dragged on, the members' motivation slowly began to fade. Their dreams didn't, in fact, lead to any real jobs. Like a long-dead romance waiting for one side to finally let go, their days dragged on in a state of arrested development, and the members' worries only grew. We used to fly high as ATEEZ in World Z, but had fallen into obscurity in this place. It was impossible to stop the members, who urgently needed money to get by, from leaving to look for a part-time job and earn a living. Though no one said it out loud, they all felt that the days when they could persuade each other with the mere promise of their shared dream would soon pass. Back then, whenever he went out to drink with friends from his hometown, Woo Young would whine over and over about how he wanted to be on stage. Then one time, his friend drunkenly shot back, "Is the stage really that special? A teacher's classroom could be their stage. The old man announcing sales at the supermarket is on stage. So are the flight attendants giving presentations on emergency life vests. Idols and actors aren't the only ones giving performances on a stage." Woo Young, thinking this was just his friend's way of shutting him up, disregarded the comment. But his friend went on, "If you miss performing that much, then stop whining about it and do something. Go find your own stage." Fueled by his friend's call for him to take action, Woo Young's blood boiled, and a strange courage overcame him. "That's right, I'll go find my own stage." The friends cheered together, and before he knew it, Woo Young had signed up for flight attendant training. Not wanting to waste the money he had spent on FA training classes, Woo Young began attending the Flight Attendant Academy. To his surprise, he was praised for his talent and soon found himself enjoying training. He was proud that the other students applauded him and the school held him up as an example. Yes, maybe it was praise that Woo Young had wanted. Driven by praise and recognition, Woo Young became a full-fledged flight attendant in record time. It wasn't until after this thirst for acknowledgement had been quenched that he remembered what it was that he really wanted to do. Music. It wasn't performing on a stage, but music that he wanted to do. To match his voice and movements to instruments, for someone to listen to his story. But when he finally looked back, he was already an established flight attendant. And so, Woo Young recalled his friend's words again. Find the stage. Find your own stage. Make it for yourself. At that time, K Airlines was in the process of planning a new format for their in-flight safety announcement, and Woo Young sent in a proposal for the project. He suggested a music-based performance, and his idea was adopted. "Woo Young, we're just about ready to run the announcement." At the words of his fellow flight attendant, Woo Young opened his eyes. It might not be much, but it was still a stage, the stage Woo Young had longed for. This shaking feeling he was experiencing now was the very feeling he had missed so much. There was nothing to be afraid of. Woo Young stood in the aisle. "We're about to take off," Woo Young said. "In preparation for departure, please direct your attention to the flight attendants in the cabin as they go over our safety procedures." Woo Young's announcement rang over the pre-recorded music playing from the in-flight speakers. Soon, the beat began to change, and the announcement transformed into a rapid melody. Passengers who had been dozing off or scrolling through the selection of in-flight movies, and children who had been whining to their parents, all turned to look at Woo Young. Information on seatbelts, life jackets, oxygen masks, and emergency exits was delivered through witty lyrics, and the communicative performance immediately drew the attention of the audience, the flight's passengers. Even those who had laughed out of awkwardness at first soon joined in on the fun of the performance. Some even stood up from their seats, swayed their shoulders, and clapped. The youngest audience enjoyed the performance the most, as they stopped their crying and laughed along. Some passengers even filmed the performance on their personal smartphones. Woo Young, who felt like he hadn't performed before an audience in so long, ended the in-flight safety performance by disappearing and reappearing in an instant like he used to do in World Z, of course. Without the chromer, It was just a simple trick of diversion planned with a fellow flight attendant. After a moment of silence, the cabin burst into thunderous applause and cheers. All around, passengers shouted praise at Woo Young, saying, "This is the best announcement I've ever seen," or "I'm so glad I got to start my vacation with you. And I was sad about my holiday being over, but you made me feel so much better." Woo Young, who was busy thanking and calming the passengers who were now more excited than he was, stopped in front of two familiar faces. "Hey, is it really okay for a safety announcement to be this cool?" Yuno said. "I know," Minky replied. "I fell for him and nearly asked for his number." The K Airlines flight crossed the night sky and the bright lights of the cabin dimmed. Passengers, tired from the long flight, began to fall asleep. Aside from the noise of a few odd people going to and from the restroom, the cabin was quiet. The three men gathered in one corner in hushed excitement. "Huh, what are the odds?" Woo Young asked. "I was supposed to take an earlier flight home after the fashion show in Dubai, but it was overbooked," Minky responded. "I needed to get back for our appointment tomorrow, and this was the next best flight I could get. And there were only economy seats left? What if someone recognizes you?" Woo Young exclaimed. "I was worried about that too, but this was the last one open before the weekend. Still, it worked out, right? I get to see you and Yuno." Even though they were in the galley, where only flight attendants came and went, Minky covered his face with his hat and stayed alert for prying eyes. Within just 3 years, Minky had become the hottest model and influencer in the world. Back when the members were still practicing together, Minky, who needed money for his grandmother's hospital bills and family's living expenses, began taking on a number of odd jobs. On his way to the practice room, Minky was cast on the street by a high-end designer. The brand was still in its startup stage at the time, who was looking for a new face to model for them. Minky was selected to star in a pictorial introducing the brand's new collection. That season's outfits and pictorials became a hot topic in the fashion world. Online, so much so that Minky was even featured on the cover of one of the world's top fashion magazines. He was hailed as a muse to global brands and was chosen to finish their collection's runway shows, though he had no experience walking whatsoever. As the saying goes, those who can, do. Those who can do it looking good, well, they go on to rule the world. A YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers posted Minky's photos on their personal SNS as an example of their ideal boyfriend style, and it soon ignited a heated social debate on the use of private images without permission. Like this, Minky's pictures naturally gained exposure, and, as the original controversy surrounding them disappeared, he evolved into a famous figure associated in the public mind with the so-called boyfriend shot. After the conference in Egypt, Yuno started, I was on my way back to Korea via Dubai. When I saw it was a K Airlines flight, I thought of contacting you, Woo Young, but who knew we'd end up meeting like this? And Minky, too. Yuno had started studying again and went on to college, and the chromer was the reason why. Once he'd learned that the chromer, something he'd thought could only be found in the mystical world, Z existed here as well, he became fascinated with relics, ancient ruins, legends, and myths. There must be more relics out there, just like the chromer, that can't be explained by our world's history, theory, and research alone, Yuno had said. Woo Young was reminded of a conversation he had one day walking with Yuno. If this world is really made up of multiple dimensions, just as the men in the black fedoras had told them, then there must be more relics and artifacts out there that only those who know of World Z can recognize. Does he want to go back to World Z? Now that the chromer's broken, is he looking for some other key that will lead him back? Woo Young wanted to ask Yuno a lot of questions, but chose to cheer him on instead. Entering the archaeological department must have been hectic enough for him already. By the way, Yuno said, you were really cool back there. It reminded me of when we used to perform together as ATEEZ. I filmed it all on my phone, so let's all rewatch it together at Yeosang's place tomorrow, Minky suggested. Hey, it's supposed to be Hongjung's congratulatory party, Woo Young complained. Don't waste time watching a video of me. Why not? I'm sure everyone will love it, Yuno comforted. We always end up just talking about the past when we meet, anyway. If anything, I'm worried your video will get everyone too fired up and they'll want to start dancing again. He's not wrong, and you know what? Minky started. Jongho's a producer now. Who knows, he might just offer you a solo after watching it. Cut it out, Woo-young laughed. Stop messing with me. Minky smirked mischievously as if to say, try me, and Woo-young responded with a look of fake hurt. Yuno watched them both and laughed. Though it'd been a year since they last met, and though they each now had their own busy lives, in front of each other, they transformed into the same young boys they had always been. With silly jokes only they would ever get, they soothed their longing for each other that had long been locked away inside. At the same time, in Seoul, South Korea, cursing and shouting, not music, blasted out of a recording studio near Hongdae. If that's how you're gonna act, then get the hell out already. Stop dragging us into your mess. Do you know how many idols disappear not even a year after debuting? Even if we risk our lives for this job, who knows how many people will ever actually care? No, that's not what point. For starters, I joined this company because I thought they'd make me an actor. Hell, like I knew I'd become an idol like this. Ha! Don't act like you know what I'm going through. The 6-month-old group, for which Jongho worked as their exclusive producer, was preparing for their upcoming mini-album. While in the studio recording songs, all the members' volatile emotions that had accumulated since their debut exploded into an argument which raged on despite the best efforts of those around them to stop it. An engineer, who could no longer stand to watch the children fight in his recording booth, moved to stop them, but Jongho stepped in and held him back. It's better they let it all out now than hold it in and suffer in silence. It wouldn't be easy for family members to work together all day long, let alone young adults, teens who had barely just hit puberty, thrown together only because they share the same goal. Understanding Jongho's intentions, the engineer sat down again, and unaware of the adults watching them, the children continued to fight. What? If you didn't want to be part of this, you should have told the company before debuting. Let me guess, you didn't have the guts to start out as an actor and thought you'd take the easy path to fame by debuting as an idol first. If that's what you decided, then take responsibility for that decision. You're an idol now, so f***ing work to make your face known before whining. You've only just started, and you're already like this? What are you gonna do? What do you think I am? Some kind of machine? I'm human too. I need time to think through all my troubles and decisions, but it's just work and practice every single day. I don't have time to think about myself or make commitments. Considering all that, can I waver or doubt things a little? Jongho sighed. At this rate, I doubt we'll be able to finish recording today. There's still room in the schedule, so let's try again some other time. Argument showed no sign of slowing down, and Jongho decided to postpone the recording. The engineer headed out of the studio first, offering Jongho a comment of support for his troubles on his way out. And you think we aren't just as busy? What do you think the rest of us are doing? Playing around? You've never liked me, even back when we were trainees. Is that why you're acting like this to me? What? You always listen to the other members whenever they complain about their troubles, whether it was family stuff, not being able to debut with friends from their trainee days, or anything else. Seriously? How old are you? Jongho interjected. That's enough. Everyone, get out here. Once the other members had all left for the dorms, the two boys sat in front of Jongho and cried. Jongho guessed they each had been holding on to their own struggles. One of the boys, having come from a difficult family background, was desperate to cling to his idol career, something he had worked so hard to achieve and the opportunities it might bring. As desperate as he was also probably anxious. And the only way to relieve his worries in this industry, where the future was both uncertain and out of his hands, was to work as hard as he possibly could. He must have hoped the other members would feel the same, and when confronted by his friend who didn't, could no longer hold back his own overflowing anxiety. Although Jongho didn't know everything the boy had been through, he did know the feeling of desperation born from anxiety. He had once exploded at Minky in a similar way. The other boy, who dreamed of becoming an actor, must have stumbled across the path of an idol on the way to his real dream. While he may have started this career hoping that, as his face became more well-known, it would eventually lead to opportunities in acting, he was probably taken aback by the reality of this world that demands hard work paid in sweat and tears. He was behind in singing and dancing compared to the other members who dreamed of being idols, and he must have been worried about the choice he made. But, as busy as they were, it would have been hard to even bring up his concerns. Sure, one could criticize the boy for choosing the path of an idol when that was never his dream. But Jongho, who had become a music producer as a means to achieving another goal himself, was no different. As their crying died down, Jongho recalled these past 3 years. Inspired by the Grimes siblings, Jongho began composing music little by little, and when they returned to this world, he began studying it in earnest, hoping to make songs the members could sing together. While it was a little awkward, he enjoyed asking the members' opinions and modifying each song little by little. That magical moment, when the members' voices were paired with the melody he'd made, brought a sense of accomplishment he had not felt elsewhere. Even when the other members grew busy with their own lives, Jongho couldn't let go of music. Jongho had already been forced to give up his dream of basketball once due to injury, and had worked so hard to find this new one. If he couldn't achieve it with the members, he would find a way to cling to it on his own, even as a singer-songwriter. That's how Jongho was eventually scouted by his current agency, who was so impressed by the songs he uploaded to MusicCloud that they asked if he could write a song for their upcoming idol group. While he was a bit disappointed they hadn't offered to sign him as a singer, he had no reason to refuse the offer. It was a way for him to continue his career in music, and, for the first time, his efforts had been recognized. Jongho, who started as a songwriter, soon became the idol group's vocal coach and producer as well. He was neither an idol nor a singer-songwriter, but he had hope that, as long as he never gave up on music, the chance would still present itself one day. For now, he spent his days satisfied with the opportunities given to him. From now on, Jongho suggested, how about we work out from time to time and try building up our physical strength? The two children raised their heads and looked up at Jongho, confused. Neither of you wants to hurt the other, Jongho explained. It's just that you have your problems, and you have yours. Am I right? They nodded, and out of the corner of their eyes, scanned the face of the boy sitting next to them. As their irritation faded, fatigue, sadness, confusion, and guilt took their place. I heard that kindness also requires stamina. You're both so tired that you're overcome with anxiety and confusion. But it's thanks to all your hard work that you were able to debut and were offered all these new opportunities too. I know it's impossible to really understand each other's struggles, but let's at least try to be kind to each other. How about it? The boys replied, yes, at the same time, and awkwardly handed each other tissues. They're still just kids, Jongho thought as he smiled quietly. The two boys, who had fought so ferociously until just now, were smirking and exchanging friendly banter. Looking at them, Jongho couldn't help but be reminded of his own members. He went to close his eyes for a moment, but fatigue washed over him, and before he knew it, it was 1 a.m. Jongho hurried to organize his computer files, and buried among those numerous files, one in particular caught his eye. It was his first song. Maybe it was the boys' fight, or that he was going to see his own members for the first time in a while tomorrow, but for some reason that song, which he had not played even once since they split, called out to him today. Should I try listening to it again? Jongho hesitated for a moment before mustering up a little courage and playing that first song. Yeah, I can't do this. Jongho shuddered at the melody, which now seemed so unrefined from its very start. In his memory, it had been a pretty good song, but now he realized how much he had glamorized it. Unable to listen anymore, he went to turn the music off, but hesitated at Yeosang's soft voice. Then Woo Young's melodic voice followed, and Jongho gave up on turning off the music. As Yeosang and Woo Young, Songhwa and Yuno, Minky and Hongjung, San and Jongho's voices came and went, an image as clumsy as a colorful drawing unfolded in his mind. The members' voices pierced his heart. It felt as though, unknowingly, he had unleashed a certain long-gone and now unattainable past. Only then did Jong-ho realize that he had unwittingly ended one period of his life and started another. Listening to the music of a past he could never get back, he longed for those clumsy but oh-so-beautiful times and shed a tear. It was then, ring! A fire alarm went off and shook Jong-ho from his memories. What's going on? Jong-ho faltered at the loud noise, and someone burst through the recording studio door. Standing in the open doorway was none other than Songhwa outfitted in fire protective gear. Songhwa? Can't you hear the alarm? Songhwa shouted. Hurry, we need to get out of here. A stray cigarette butt had caught fire to a bag of garbage, which in turn spread to the vines that decorated the outer wall of the building. The fire grew and began eating away at the building's exterior. Fortunately, a delivery man saw it all and immediately called 1-9. We were able to extinguish the fire before there was too much damage, Songhwa continued as he took off his red helmet. Thankfully, the fire didn't spread too much, Songhwa said, but had you stayed there, you might have been suffocated by the smoke. The next time you hear a fire alarm go off, get out right away. There's nothing more important than your life. Yes, I get it. You're really a full-fledged firefighter now, huh? Jong-ho smiled happily at Songhwa's nagging, which he hadn't heard in so long, and handed Songhwa a drink. Songhwa smiled back, as if he had missed these familiar interactions with the group's youngest member. Looking at Songhwa's soot-smudged face, Jong-ho asked, How's the firefighter job? Do you enjoy it? Songhwa finished another sip of his drink and seemed to think for a moment before replying with a smile. It's great, very rewarding, but more importantly, I get to save people. It's really great. Jong-ho understood. He knew that the afterimage of all the people they couldn't save in World Z had long haunted Songhwa. The boy and his brother that they were unable to save at the disposal site. The many members of the Black Pirates and Thunder who had fought bravely alongside ATEEZ, only to have their fates changed by the Guardians' attacks. The eyes of those sense offenders hung as an example in the square. Jong-ho remembered that image of Songhwa's back, the older member frozen in place each and every time he encountered someone who reminded him of them. Want me to tell you something interesting? Songhwa inquired. Jong-ho met his eyes silently, as if to say that he was ready to listen. Songhwa began describing those who had just become firefighters. There is a time when a sense of duty and a desire to save people becomes a kind of passion in and of itself. During this time, new firefighters, if they had never known fear, would do anything to save even just one more person. They would dive into the heart of a fire or risk their lives. Then, they make a mistake and realize they might actually die like this. That's when they finally come to understand their senior's advice, Songhwa continued. Songhwa gritted his teeth and repeated the words he had heard over and over again as a student. Saving oneself is the first step in saving other people. Believe it or not, that's why I decided to become a firefighter. I thought that if I could just pull myself out of my own misery, I would be able to do anything. At first, he began studying how to rescue people in various crisis situations. Just learning how to react to various emergencies helped calm his anxiety. Then, while studying, he came across material made for aspiring firefighters preparing for the firefighter exam. The members were meeting to practice together less and less, and making use of his newfound free time, Songhwa decided to take the test himself. The hobby he began to calm his anxiety soon became his job. He found its specific demands and tasks were more comforting than vague dreams. And while it didn't come with cheers and applause like performing on stage, in their place, he was rewarded with the simple, heartfelt gratitude of those he'd saved and their families. That's good to hear. Jong-ho meant that sincerely. He looked at Songhwa's face in the clear light. Songhwa stared back at Jong-ho in the same manner. Jong-ho, the baby of the group, suddenly looked all grown up. Even Jong-ho's an adult now. It's strange. It makes me feel proud, but also sorry. Songhwa thought quietly to himself. You're coming tomorrow, right? Jong-ho asked. Nope. Wait, really? Why can't you come? This'll be our first time getting together in nearly a year. It's already past midnight. So yeah, I won't be going tomorrow, but I'll be sure to make the party today. It's Hong Jung's party. There's no way I'd miss it. Oh, come on. In Jongho's face, now annoyed at the older boy's mischief, was the echo of the maknae Songhwa knew. Only then did Songhwa put his arm around Jongho's shoulders and ruffle his hair, as if happy to finally reunite with the group's youngest. In an antique villa, far removed from the city center and hidden by lush trees tinted by the pink light of golden hour, laughter echoed about. Inside the villa dining room, 8 men dressed comfortably sat around a large table decorated with all kinds of dishes from land and sea. 8 wine glasses collided in the air. I really put a lot of thought into this menu for you guys. Yeosang whined, but all you've been eating is sand stuff. I'm hurt. That's bold coming from the guy who just swiped another piece of my kimbap, San joked. Well, you know, you can't beat this kind of nostalgic flavor, Yeosang retorted. Come on, guys, Wu Young urged. Let's try one of the other dishes before Mr. Fancy Villa owner gets upset. How did you manage to look this sexy on a plane? Hongjun asked. I thought I was watching a performance of Britney Spears' Toxic or something. Hey, Wu Young protested. I thought I told you guys not to show them that. Minky and Yuno, shrugging in fake remorse, explained how they had no choice but to show the others Wu Young's video, which had already begun spreading on social media. Wu Young's ears were red with embarrassment, but he looked through the video's comments in high spirits, and San took the opportunity to tease Wu Young again. Hongjun, who had been watching the members with a smile, suddenly remembered the books in his bag and hurriedly took them out. He passed a copy to each of the members, who flipped through them with thrill. On the first page was a simple letter with Hongjun's handwritten signature. So book number 2 is finally out, Yuno exclaimed. Congrats, Hongjun. You did great. I heard you were already offered licensing deals in 30 countries or something? Minky asked. I saw it in an article. It's all thanks to you guys, Hongjun said. If anything, I'm sorry. It's our story, but I'm the only one making money off of it all. What are you saying? Jongho nagged. You're the only one of us who'd ever be able to retell it all in such an exciting way like this. The others nodded in agreement. For no reason in particular, Hongjun touched the cover of his book. On the cover was an image of Z's office, with Zed and the Guardians on the right, and the Thunder members and Prestige Academy students on the left. In the front were 8 men wearing black fedoras, engraved with the name ATEEZ. That's right, Hongjun's novel was based on their real adventures. In short, it was his and the members' travel diary. One day, after returning to this world, Hongjun suddenly realized that his memories from World Z were beginning to fade. Perhaps that's what it meant to live in the present. What were once vibrant and colorful memories would soon be condensed into a single color and simplified as good past times. And so Hongjun began writing. He wanted to retain those magical moments that he could never visit again as vibrant memories. His diary, a blog, was soon filled with comments like, "Is this a new novel? I'm dying to read what comes next." For the first time, Hongjun began to consider how the series of events he had experienced with members might seem to others. Most people would probably assume this is a science fiction or fantasy novel, not a travelogue. What began as Hongjun's diary evolved into a detailed story akin to an epic novel, and his blog readers increased exponentially as the story progressed. It wasn't long before he was approached by a publisher, and his story was printed as a novel, which went on to become a bestseller. Before he knew it, Hongjun had built a name for himself as a famous writer beloved by young readers. His days were filled with reader meet and greets, special lectures, and appearances on various TV programs. On a talk show that introduced writers' personal lives, Hongjun said, "I originally dreamed of becoming an idol, hoping vaguely that, if I became famous enough to appear on TV, I might meet my long-lost family again. But I never imagined that this would all happen to me as a writer." His sincere story and the dance he showed off at the request of the host became a hot topic. Hongjun's father, who happened to watch the show, and his mother, who learned about him through his novel, reached out to him. At long last, his dream of reuniting with his family finally came true. "My mom is so into Minky these days," Hongjun commented. "She even follows you on social media." "Really?" Minky laughed. "Do you want me to surprise her with a video call or something? I'd be more than happy to." In that case, Songhwa cut in, would you mind calling my fire department chief as well? Ever since he found out we're close, he's been too nice to me. The members burst into laughter, seeing Hongjung's mother fangirling over Minky on the phone. Songhwa tried to contact the department chief for a video call with Minky as well, but busy as ever, he didn't answer his phone. Minky left a little video greeting for him instead. I saw so many ads with Minky on my way here today, San said. He's everywhere. Do you know what it made me think of? What? Jongho asked. It's so over the top, it almost reminds me of Z, San joked. Jongho, looking around Yosang's villa, laughed. It was an inside joke that only made sense to those familiar with World Z and the nature of Z's rule. It also meant that Minky's star power was so great that it was akin to brainwashing. The dining room led out into a short hallway that connected to the living room. Beyond a large window framed by curtains was a dark blue night. Next to the window, in an antique cabinet, a familiar frame and broken glass object caught Woo Young's eyes. Hey, isn't this the chromer? He asked. The remaining pieces of the broken chromer, which Yosang had taken back with him, had been reconstructed decently well. It looked almost like a piece of modern art. When the chromer shattered and the members were forced back to this world, Woo Young had thought Yosang odd for picking up its useless broken pieces. Now, Woo Young felt as though he were the odd one. Huh? Yuno sat up. Wait, I think I recognize that. It's that thing Left Eye gave us. He cried out, looking at a ruby-colored stone in a compartment next to the chromer. It's that thing, Jongho pointed out, that he gave it to us, saying it was something thrown away at the Strickland disposal site, along with the voices of the Grimes siblings. Yosang, San started, you mean you took this without telling the rest of us? What are you talking about? Yosang huffed. I asked you over and over which one of us should take it. Everyone was shocked by Yosang's sudden remarks. Yosang continued, I asked you all again and again in both World Z and World A, but either you weren't listening or changed the subject on me. I had no choice but to bring it back myself. When the members questioned, When did you ask us? Yosang replied, don't you remember me asking you all, what should we do with Sopro? Sopro? Woo Young asked. At that, the members finally recalled Yosang asking them, who's going to take care of Sopro? What about Sopro? Guys Sopro? None of them knew at the time that he was referring to this ruby stone, and they all had brushed him off. Now feeling bad, the members touched Sopro aimlessly and changed the subject. You know, Yosang, your villa really is huge, San complimented. It's so nice. You can really tell you make a lot of money. I know, Songhwa agreed. You've got enough room to play soccer in here. The members chided Songhwa for his old man-like comment and looked around the living room. In just 3 years, Yosang had become the definition of young and rich, tall and handsome. Having built his fortune investing in stocks, Yosang was finally able to start a business of his own without his father's help. The startup he generously invested in grew into a unicorn, and through his careful investment skills, he was able to transform the one-man business into a large-scale operation. Though he didn't want to admit it, his natural ability to read the flow of money reminded him of his father. While money might seem contrary to art, art would not exist without money. Historically, art was created for the enjoyment of nobles and aristocrats, and in protest of this truth, even more kinds of art were born. Money was the group's biggest obstacle in achieving their dream, and Yosang decided to tackle it head-on. He reinvented himself as a leader of the investment world. The members, who had naturally moved to the living room, shared stories with each other, drank wine, and drunkenly reminisced about their times in World Z, their memories spread out on the table before them. Their uncensored true faces, which they had grown used to hiding behind their masks as refined members of society, burst out wildly. The members were as excited as if they had just moved through space with the chromer, as if they'd gone back to their days as the men in the black fedoras. Do you guys remember that time? Yosang asked. Back during our performance at Prestige Academy, when Minky missed the beat and his colored smoke bomb went off first? Yeah, San nodded. I was worried that I was the one who messed up our rhythm. To be honest, Hongjung started, I was worried that we wouldn't be able to make it home. I kept thinking, what if one of us got injured or something happened? Everything seemed so hard at the time, but looking back on it now, things were good back then. I know, Woo Young agreed. I remember that first time I got injured and how the Grimes siblings helped me. The first time we met Left Eye, I almost even missed the Guardians now. I hope Thunder's doing okay, San said. It's a shame we never got a chance to say goodbye. I wonder what happened after we left, Yuno mused. Were the people finally able to break free of control? Did the rebellion succeed? Do they still remember ATEEZ? Or do you think we've already been forgotten? Maybe. You never know, Minky said. Time keeps moving over there too. We might already have become a thing of the past. It's not like we spend all our time thinking about ATEEZ either. Jongho sighed. Even if that's the case, it's still a little sad to think about. There was a moment of silence. Although they were all here in the same place, each member was immersed in their own thoughts. Music filled the room, breaking the silence. It was Jongho. He played a song from the music he had kept from their performances in World Z. Excitement filled the room again. Some members even started to dance, saying they remembered their choreography from back then. A few other songs played, and finally, the first song Jongho had written for the members upon returning came on. This time, a different kind of silence came over the members. ATEEZ, who had been nothing short of heroes in World Z, had been thrown back into World A and forced to live as commoners again. Still, they had been so sure they could make it here too. After all, just think of all they had accomplished in World 2. However, the lingering thrill of their adventures had faded faster than they had hoped. This song was one they sang together at the very end of that time. They hadn't understood just how much they had changed before and after leaving World Z, but now they all did. Why don't we give it one last try? Woo Young blurted out the thoughts no other member had the courage to speak, not even as a joke. Sipping his drink by himself and listening to music, he looked very drunk. Hongjung responded as if to soothe him. Ah, yeah, that might be fun. You know, a reader actually said the same thing at a book concert of mine a while back. They said they'd heard us perform at a local event a long time ago. They were a fan. It kind of made me sad to hear that. You know, Yuno started. Yosang makes a lot of investments in the arts. He could probably handle our production, and Jongho can make our songs, and Minky will be our center. It's so nice getting together like this. We should really do it at least once a month. Hey, let's go on a trip together sometime. The others tried to brush aside Woo Young's words with their usual drunken promises, but this time, Jongho responded seriously. To be honest, I like the idea. I already have some songs written. Looking back, I always wondered if we really did everything we could, Woo Young said. At first, we all had our own family problems, and because of that, we ended up drifting apart before we ever really started. Then, the next time we got together and tried, and it didn't work out, we all gave up so easily and moved on to our own jobs. Let's do it for real this time. Give it one last go. Doesn't it bother you to just accept defeat like this? Woo Young thought he had been adjusting well to his life as a flight attendant. But when he danced and sang to the in-flight safety announcement, he realized that was not the case. He had been forcing himself to eat tofu when what he really wanted was steak. Sure, they were both proteins, but they were not the same. Yosang spoke up. I don't consider my current life to be defeat. So then, you think we've all achieved our dreams? Woo Young looked at him and Yosang sighed. Let me put it this way. You think any life that doesn't follow your original dream is a failure, then? Something to be ashamed of? The members grew pale at the suddenly charged atmosphere of the conversation. Yeosang was frustrated with Woo Young, who clung blindly to his obsession with dreams. And while blindness is at times both enchanting and noble, there are other times when it becomes a trap. The reason why hard work and effort put towards one's dream feels so noble is that dreams can often seem like a sort of divine mission, and many people blindly accept them as such. If you believe that the only way to live is to follow your dreams, it's only natural that anything else would feel frightening and shameful, like a failure. The sense of defeat the members felt before arriving in World Z was that exactly the trap of blindness. But what they learned in World Z was not that they could be heroes, but the importance of emotions and art. dreams, and hope, and that blind belief in anything leads to grave consequences. At least, that's how Yeosang saw it, and he had hoped the members felt the same. "Grow up," he said. "How long do you plan on acting so recklessly? Until we fail for good, I want to keep giving it my all." "We never really tried. You're just running away, afraid to face the fact that we've fallen this far and using the need to make a living as an excuse. Your real failure is being afraid to fail." These words echoed in Woo Young's mind. But Yeosang's cold and cynical retort shattered him before he was ever able to sort through his thoughts. "Maybe it's that you don't even have the courage to be reckless," Woo Young snapped. "But the others might. Why are you getting in my way without even listening?" "Can't you tell?" Yeosang stood up from his seat as if to say, "Go ahead, ask." Woo Young looked at the other members, believing that at least one of them would respond positively. "Let's try it again together." But each member only turned their eyes away from Woo Young's gaze. Woo Young felt like a fool. "Woo Young, I really did mean it," Jong Ho spoke up. "I want to, but let's organize our schedules first and then." "No, forget it." Woo Young cut him off. "This was supposed to be a celebration, and I messed everything up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a little drunk. I'll head out first." Pressing back his tears, he kicked away his seat and stood up. The members rushed over to comfort Woo Young in his broken heart, but it was too late. Woo Young walked away quickly into the darkness. There were 2 hours left before the first train. Woo Young, forced to wait until then, shivered as he sat on the bench at the train station. Why does he have to live so far out of the city? It was late spring, but the night was still cold. Woo Young regretted running out of Yeosang's villa so hastily. He debated buying some apology snacks at the convenience store and returning to the villa. But no matter how he thought about it, returning to Yeosang's house would only hurt his pride. Is being reckless a crime? There are so many reckless people in the world, like all the people who fall in love knowing they'll break up in the end. Does he think they're all just immature fools? And why is recklessness immature? He talked to himself and tried to calm his stormy heart. Yeosang's words were made even more painful by the other members' gazes. They seemed to imply, "We are not the same." It was as though he alone remained trapped in a long tunnel, and the members looked back at him from the other side, as if saying, "Why are you still there?" Since when did they all become so spineless? Their passion, spirit, where did it all go? Woo Young tilted his head back and looked up at the night. Even in the murky sky, stars shone. Could one of those lights be World Z? As he thought that, a reddish star appeared, twinkling through the clouds. Sopro. Woo Young, unconsciously, was reminded of the ruby-colored stone. The stone that sat in the living room cabinet of Yeosang's villa. Left Eye turned Sopro carefully in his hand and explained. Sopro is a sort of magical spirit that synchronizes the feelings of those who hold it with those who draw breath around them. According to legend, one of the 4 priest guardians of Halazia gathered the breaths of all of Halazia to create it. They were sailing to the android guardian's bunker to look for the lost the Chromer. One of the younger Grimes siblings, reaching for the stone without hesitation, chimed in. "Then, we should use it to awaken the emotions of the people and guardians." Left Eye stopped him and offered a cautious thought. Why was something as precious as this thrown away at the Strickland disposal site? An elder sister of the Grimes siblings replied to Left Eye. It must have been swept up and thrown away along with the countless particles of emotion or our voices. I doubt they knew what it was and just tossed it away. Left Eye turned his head to the side and examined the stone, which shone the enchanting color of blood. Legends are just legends. It might be dangerous. Let's only use this as a last resort. Woo Young, returning quietly to the villa where the members slept, headed to the living room. He passed a table covered with empty bottles and leftovers, went to the antique cabinet, and picked up Sopro. So if I use this, I can sync my and the members' emotions? Sopro's red light wavered, as though in response to Woo Young's question. Holding the stone tightly in his fist, Woo Young brought his hand to his heart and earnestly prayed. It's as though they've all forgotten what it was like to be happy. Reignite our passion like it was back then, and let us be happy together again. Please. Red light spilled from the gaps in his fingers, a ruby aurora dancing throughout the dark room.